Hey everybody, this is my 20-gallon Angelfish tank in my fish room. And the other day I did a chemi-clean treatment and I killed off a bunch of cyanobacteria that was sort of carpeting the substrate on the bottom. And in the process I showed you how I did that, and I used an open vinyl hose with no larger end the way a gravel vac is. A gravel vac is designed to have a much reduced suction at that first wide plastic part, and it allows the gravel to sort of flow up into it. The smaller particulate matter can sort of move up the water column, but the heavier gravel falls back out, and that's how you get a gravel vac. But I simply did a straight up siphon hose, which has a lot of suction power right there at the end, and it winds up sucking a fair amount of the substrate out with the cyanobacteria. Even the dead cyanobacteria is still sort of attached to and sort of grown up against the substrate, and so some of that gets pulled out. And what I do is I collect that in a bucket, I pour all the water out, I get the substrate back out. This is approximately what I got out of the last time I did that. I did lose a little bit of this because I dropped it on the floor and I had to clean it back up, and I did lose a little bit in the process of doing that. But what I do is I take it, I give it a good rinse with some water, fill it halfway up, shake it, pour the water off, so on and so forth. Do that, 3-4 times. And then I just pour enough hydrogen peroxide in there to cover it. And I let it sit for a day or two, and I pour that off, and again, I rinse it and fill it halfway with water and shake it. And, kind of like you're panning for gold. I leave all the gravel at the bottom and sort of mix it up until all the debris and stuff floats out of it. And then I put some more hydrogen peroxide in it. Do that for a day or two. And what you wind up with is gravel that looks pretty much like brand new again. Now, this is also my Eco Complete, the planted substrate that I like to use. So it is bimodal, and it does have, special pores in it and a little bitty sandy grit in it and all that kind of stuff. So this is a little bit more valuable than just, chucking away a little bit of sand or something. And that's why I make sure I collect it up like that and put it back in there. So what we're going to do tonight, before I put that gravel back in, is we're going to do a proper gravel vac. I've had a few people asking me some questions about it, talking about it over the last few days. And in a planted tank, it's kind of difficult to do a real gravel vac where you're really scrunching it down in there and really, getting the gravel mixed up. But we're going to do a little bit of that. You can still get in there and do some maintenance. And this tank has so much mulm in it. I mean, I don't know if you can tell how deep that is, but that's like a snowdrift of mulm in there. And you can see it's all over the bottom. Tons of it in the back corner. And I always get a big sort of swirly pile of it right underneath where the filter intake is, because it's not quite enough suction to draw it up in there. But it goes over towards that area and then just sort of settles on the bottom and leaves me with the big old pile of it. So I'm going to get the tripod set up. Hopefully position it in some place where we don't have too much glare on the tank. And then we will go ahead and do a little video of that. Unfortunately, with the open top tank and having a light like that right over top of it, anything anywhere near in front of the tank, on the floor, is just lit up by that thing. And then, of course, it just reflects in the glass. It's really challenging to get a good video without getting a lot of glare on it. So anyway, let me get the tripod set up, and then I will show you how I remove all that mulm and stuff. Alright, let's see how well this does. Now that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a standard gravel vac. Presumably you know what I mean when I say that. Now this should be a mountain of crud coming up out of there. So you can gently go along, lift some of the surface substrate up with this. It's a fairly lightweight substrate, so it does tend to want to run up in the tube pretty easily. There's a bunch of it back there. It's one of the downsides of setting a tank up the way I like to have my tanks set up. I like them to be fairly natural looking. Frankly, I like my tanks to be busy. I like a lot of activity. I like a lot of fish. I like a lot of plants and woodwork. And when you got all that stuff, it's, it makes for, you can see all that coming up out of the corner there. It makes for, you know, a lot of places for the water to swirl around and the mulm to collect. Now, I never worry too much about the mulm collecting in the tank. I get a lot of comments about it. There's a lot of people that are really into gravel vacuuming and really into making sure they get all that last little bit of mulm out of the tank that they possibly can. And I've never really understood the mentality behind that. The mulm will, I guess, contribute to higher nitrates as it breaks down and deteriorates into the tank. But my understanding for the most part is that the mulm is kind of the end result of what's already been broken down. I don't know how much more nitrates are going to be produced by the mulm collecting on the bottom of the tank. It may, see, there's that pile that was sitting underneath the filter. It's all sort of wrapped up together in one big clump. It's not really going up the gravel vac. Again, I don't really know how well any of this is coming out on camera. I can't really see what the camera's seeing at the moment. But the mulm doesn't, you know, it's not some terrible thing in your tank. It's not like the equivalent of, you know, if you or I were swimming around in, you know, raw septic or something like that. It's just basically the equivalent of like dirt at the bottom of the fish tank. As long as it settles down and it's not swirling around in the water, it's, you know, it's nothing more than an eyesore. And again, perhaps, again, it will contribute to a little bit of the nitrate developing and building up, and possibly some bacterial load. But it's not some terrible dangerous thing that you really need to get out of your tank. And when you're done with these kind of vacs, you roll them around like that and you pull them up out of the water, and that allows you to keep everything that you've collected. It doesn't go rushing back out into the tank. So there you are. That's 5 gallons of very, very filthy water. So let me get that filled back up, and then we will go ahead and have a look at the tank after I get the gravel and everything put back in it. I suppose there's no reason I can't just do that right now. All I gotta do is dump it in. So I will get that filled back up. Have a look at this. Again, I'm not sure what you're looking at because I got the camera facing at a funny angle, but there's one of my snails up and out of the water, at least for the time being. So give me a minute. We'll see you when it's refilled. Alright, so there's the end result. So not a big difference. I didn't expect it to be. One thing I always do enjoy after a water change is watching all the fish sort of school together really tightly. They actually school together pretty well under normal circumstances. I have bloodfin tetras and I have diamond tetras in here, and they're both really good schooling fish. They stay together fairly closely and they swim around in a group, but when they're stressed and some activity's been going on, you can see how tight they all stay together. The angelfish isn't sure where to go or what to do. Even the guppies up here in the top are all sort of hanging out together, doing their thing. So that's it. As I said, not a lot really to talk about. I changed the filter. We got the water flowing nice and freely again. Got the tank up to its optimal level. And then, of course, I got all that grunge and grossness and everything taken up out of the bottom. One of these days I'm going to have to paint those white lines on my shoes black so you can't see them. They really do stand out. So, alright everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, this one is my Angelfish Tank. Thanks again, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.